Hello everyone. This is a very different tone of a video simply because I'm doing a very different kind of video. It is a still a movie review, don't get me wrong, but to review this movie as a film critic is like trying to eat a wall. It's just the best comparison. It's like trying to eat through your wall. I guess I could say like that. That's what it's like to review this movie. But I just thought it needed to be done because I watched this movie and exactly, I watched this movie. I mean, you need to talk about it. It's just going to be very hard to do so. That's why this might be a much longer video than you're accustomed to, because there's just so much to say about Schindler's List. My God. So, I mean, I guess I can get started with a little background. Obviously, you know this film is based off a true story during the Holocaust, which is probably the most tragic moment in human history. Well, the most tragic event in human history, or series of events, if you want to portray it like that. If you have not heard of the Holocaust, or you've refused to believe it, I mean, don't watch this video, because it's something that we need to accept happened in our history, and it's just something just so very, very tragic. And I don't want to be like a religious authority here trying to tell you how bad it was or go learn about this. No, I'm just here to tell you about this movie. So I'm not gonna go on much more about the Holocaust. But Steven Spielberg, who is obviously one of the most famous filmmakers of all time and one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, is in fact Jewish, and so his religious affiliation, as well as mine, because I'm a Jew, was one of the major groups that was impacted by this series of events. So, after one of his best movies, in my opinion, Jurassic Park, which is one of my favorite childhood movies of all time, he completely toned down everything and decided, I'm gonna do that. It's just like almost like he presented as this little black and white film entitled Schindler's List. And little did the masses know that will become his greatest film, and perhaps from some interpretations, the greatest film ever made. So, though it is not my favorite film ever made, it's not my favorite. It isn't. And I'll talk about why. I have to accept that it is perhaps the technical best film ever made. So I might as well just get started here, because I'm rambling on for 3 minutes already about what this movie is about. This movie is about a man named Oskar Schindler. I'm just telling the true story right now. I'm not going to give actor names or anything, because that ruined it. This man, Oskar Schindler, was he was a member of the Nazi Party, and he was a factory owner during World War II. And so Oskar Schindler, he just made a pretty smart plan. Back then, due to the events of the Holocaust, obviously, Jews were not legally allowed to own businesses in Germany or Nazi-occupied Poland. And so what he did was he did something very smart, and he basically put his name on all the titles and all the official paperwork for the business, and he let it be run by a Jew by the name of Itzhak Stern. And so that all worked fine, and he hired completely a Jewish workforce, and that all worked fine until they were all taken to the camps. And that's where this movie really goes downhill. And Oskar Schindler is forced to go to the one of the head Nazi of one of the camps named Amon Goeth, and he was basically had to negotiate with him to get his workforce back and save them. And as the movie progresses, he becomes less and less selfish about that he wants it just for the labor, and he becomes more and more aware of the tragedy and the horror that was going on around him, and he eventually becomes a hero, and eventually switches his idea from rescuing Jews just so they can work for him to rescuing Jews simply to rescue them from the evil and the horror that was the Holocaust. And obviously Amon Goeth won't have any of this, and that's why they become antagonists. So the movie is about a clash. It is, on the basic level, about a conflict between the men Oskar Schindler and Amon Goeth. Now I'm going to tell you, the play by Liam Neeson, Oskar Schindler, and Ralph Fiennes. But on a much deeper level, it is about humanity. And it shows, while presenting the best humanity has to offer, it also presents the worst within the same 3 or 4 hour span. And that's why it is one of the most impactful films ever made. And it is just so, for the medium it is portraying, it is the most intense, I would say. What I've seen so far, this is perhaps the most intense, most heartbreaking film of all time. And I understand if you do not cry during this movie, because I barely cried, but if you're not emotionally, don't make plans after you watch this movie for later in that day, because you will not be able to do anything. You'll just be so much, you just want to sit there and stare at a wall and question, like, the most basic questions, even, like, what are we inherently good? Are we inherently evil? What is our purpose on this world? And it all stems from this one film. And it's just insane. So now I'm going to talk about the technical aspects of the movie rather than just like the general broad spectrum of what this film did to the medium at hand. And so, Liam Neeson, who is typically an action star, I mean, he was Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace, he was the main protagonist who I still can't remember what Taken. Phantom Menace isn't a good movie, but Taken is a great, great movie. And so, then this is one of his roles that was very, very unique. Playing Oskar Schindler. He wasn't a big action hero. He was a Nazi, so to say, but he was just his character and the way he portrays it. When I think of the man Oskar Schindler, I cannot disconnect it from Liam Neeson. That's how well Liam Neeson and Oskar Schindler to me have become one. And that's when an actor can do that, when an actor can truly make himself one with the character, then you know you have something special. And while Liam Neeson was amazing, I believe that the true winner of this performance was the despicable, unredeemable, horrible Amon Goeth, played by Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes, to me, is a villain actor. I mean, he was in Skyfall, wasn't really well done. Voldemort in the Harry Potter franchise, on the other hand, wow. But this, to me, is one of the best acting performances. It's just so much, like, it just so he also becomes one with the man Amon Goeth. And, Ralph Fiennes he is so entrancing as a villain, because he is the most despicable, vile human being you have ever seen. It's almost like you want to classify him as subhuman, because simply he is so evil. I mean, you could argue that the best villains are the Emperor from the Star Wars series, or Sauron, but when you look about it, real people are the true villains. Ralph Fiennes' character, Amon Goeth, was a true villain in real life. He was just the most sinister, most despicable person you could have ever possibly met. and he's so entrancing. You can't take your eyes off him in any scene. You want to look away, but you simply cannot. That's why I believe that his role is the best. And there's also Itzhak Stern, played by Ben Kingsley, who is the true runner of Oskar Schindler's Business. This is Ben Kingsley's prime role. I mean, he was good in Iron Man 3, he was good in The Dictator, he was good in some other movies, but this is his role. This is Ben Kingsley. And he just did so well. And I mean, those three actors were the highlights of this movie. I mean, they were just so tremendous in their roles. But even with excellent, superb acting, you cannot make a full movie. You need the other components. And in this movie, that component was the Holocaust. Not the events, the Holocaust, obviously, because that's just disturbing and sickening, but the way it was portrayed with the cinematography and the writing and just the description, you just can feel for these people, and you know what they're going through. And I think no other movie does that as well as Schindler's List. Life is Beautiful. Tremendous, tremendous movie. One of the best. Is it Schindler's List level? No. So that's how you know where I'm coming from. So, I mean, I really don't know what to say, just because it's simply already been said. When you're watching Schindler's List, you're not watching a movie. You're not getting there, sitting popcorn. Come on, guys, let's go watch Schindler's List. No. You're going into an experience that will change you as both if you're a cinephile, such as myself, it will change you and evolve your cinephilia. And if you're a regular average Joe, you'll just be completely changed. It will make you want to do good. That's what this movie wants you to do. It makes you want to curl up in a ball, first of all, and do good. And it just shows the dynamic of these characters. They are the most unstatic characters that I have ever seen put to film. These three men, Liam Neeson, Oskar Schindler, Ben Kingsley's Itzhak Stern, Ralph Fiennes, Amon Goeth, they are the most unstatic, they're the most dynamic characters I've ever seen put to film. And the cinematography in this film, the black and white of the direction that they chose to go with this movie, this little film that became so much more. Right after the powerhouse that was Jurassic Park, big budget summer action blockbuster, you get Schindler's List. And he was Liam Neeson, Steven Spielberg was not, he made Jurassic Park, obviously because he's a passionate filmmaker and that was an idea that he had. And it was based on a book, so I don't know if it was fully his credit, but it was his imagination of the film. He made Jurassic Park for an audience. He made, let's say, Jaws, one of his earlier film works, for an audience. He made, I'll just throw anything out there. E.T. for an audience. Schindler's List, he truly made for himself. He made a film to satisfy himself. No one else but himself. You will not be the same after watching this movie. And while it is not my favorite movie of all time, that is reserved for a few other films, it is the technical best film ever made. And you owe it to yourself as a human to watch it. And that's why Schindler's List gets a 10 out of 10. So I know this was kind of more of a darker review, but I just had to talk about it. So thank you guys for watching. A lighter review next time, and I'll see you guys later.